Dr. Tae-ho Kim wiped sweat from his forehead as he stared at the small shining cube sitting on the lab table. The metal caught the light in a strange way, almost as if it was drinking it in. 10 years of work had led to this moment. 10 years of failures, small breakthroughs, and endless nights in the lab. Now something was different. This test sample wasn't like the others. "Jiwoo, are you seeing these readings?" Tae-ho called to his assistant across the lab. Jiwoo Park looked up from her computer screen, her eyes wide. "Yes, doctor. The energy. Absorption is off the charts. The sensors must be wrong." "Run the test again," Tae-ho said, trying to keep his voice steady. His heart was racing. If these readings were accurate, they had just changed the course of human history. The Seoul Institute of Advanced Materials was not a large facility. Their lab was modest compared to the giant research centers funded by the Earth Defense Force. But Tae-ho had always believed that big ideas could come from small places. Now it seemed he was right. Jiwoo tapped on her keyboard, and a low hum filled the room as the testing apparatus powered up again. A focused laser beam, powerful enough to cut through standard ship armor, shot directly at the small metal cube. The beam hit the cube dead center. Nothing happened. The cube sat there unbothered, as if the laser was nothing more than a flashlight beam. "The energy readings," Jiwoo whispered. "It's absorbing everything. No heat signature increase, no structural damage. Nothing." Tae-ho walked closer to the cube. It shouldn't be possible. Every material had a breaking point. But this alloy, this mixture of rare earth elements and specially structured composites that they had named impervium, seemed to defy the laws of physics. "We need to test it with something stronger," Tae-ho said, unable to take his eyes off the cube. 2 weeks later, Tae-ho and Jiwoo stood behind thick safety glass. Before them was a testing chamber at the military research facility in Busan. They had called in a favor from an old classmate who now worked for the Earth Defense Force. The military was always interested in new materials, especially ones that could withstand energy weapons. "You understand we're using a military-grade plasma cannon for this test?" Colonel Min said, looking skeptical. "This is not a toy, Tae-ho. This weapon can melt through 50 centimeters of reinforced steel." "I understand," Tae-ho replied calmly. "Please proceed with the test." The colonel nodded to a technician. The massive cannon hummed to life, its energy core glowing bright blue. In the center of the chamber sat a plate of impervium, no bigger than a dinner plate and only a few millimeters thick. "Fire when ready," the colonel ordered. The room filled with blinding light as the plasma cannon fired. The beam struck the impervium plate with enough force to vaporize traditional armor. The light was so intense that Tae-ho had to look away despite the protective glass. When the light faded, everyone stared in silence. The impervium plate sat unchanged. Not even a mark. "Impossible," the colonel whispered. He turned to the technician. "Check the cannon, it must have malfunctioned." "Sir, all systems report normal function." The cannon fired at full power. Tae-ho couldn't help but smile. "It's not a malfunction, Colonel, it's impervium." News of the miracle metal spread quickly through the scientific community. Within days, Tae-ho and Jiwoo found themselves in meetings with government officials, military leaders, and corporate executives. Everyone wanted a piece of their discovery. 1 month after the military test, Tae-ho sat in his office, looking out at the Seoul skyline. His phone rang. Dr. Kim speaking. "Dr. Kim, this is Defense Minister Yoon. I'm calling to inform you that your impervium project has been classified as a matter of national security. All research is now under government control." Tae-ho had expected this. "I understand, Minister. But you should know something important. We've already shared our findings with international partners. Scientists in 15 countries have the formula." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "You did what?" the minister finally asked, his voice tight with anger. "Science belongs to humanity, Minister, not to one country. Especially not something this important." The minister hung up without another word. 6 months later, the first impervium-plated ship was ready for its maiden voyage. The EDF Defender was not a large vessel, but its hull was covered in the miracle metal that had changed everything. Taeho and Jiwoo were invited to the launch ceremony. They stood on the observation deck, watching as the sleek ship prepared to leave Earth's atmosphere. "Do you think the aliens know yet?" Jiwoo asked quietly. Taeho nodded. "They must. You can't hide something like this." Humans had only joined the Galactic Confederation 30 years ago. It was a rough start. Earth was seen as a backwater planet with primitive technology. The alien species that dominated the Confederation had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. They had weapons that could destroy entire planets. Energy weapons were their specialty: plasma cannons, laser arrays, and particle beams that could cut through anything, until now. "They won't like it," Jiwoo said. "We've just invalidated their biggest advantage." Taeho watched as the Defender's engines glowed bright blue. Perhaps this will finally make them see us as equals. 3 days later, Taeho was called to an emergency meeting at the Earth Defense Force headquarters. When he arrived, the room was filled with grim-faced military officers and government officials. Admiral Kang stood at the front of the room. "Dr. Kim, thank you for coming quickly. We've received a message from the Confederation Council. They're sending a delegation to Earth to discuss your discovery." "That sounds reasonable," Taeho said, taking a seat. "It's not a diplomatic delegation," the Admiral continued. "It's led by Admiral Krav of the Drox Empire. He commands their most advanced battle fleet." The room fell silent. The Drox were known as the most aggressive species in the Confederation. They had built their empire on the strength of their advanced energy weapons. "They're coming to see if impervium is real," someone said. Admiral Kang nodded. "Yes. And if it is, they'll either want to control it or destroy it. And us along with it." Taeho thought about the small metal cube that had started it all. Such a simple thing, really. Just atoms arranged in a new way. But it had changed everything. "When do they arrive?" he asked. 2 weeks, Admiral Kang replied. "We have 2 weeks to prepare for first contact with consequence." Taeho looked around the room at the worried faces. "Then we better get to work, because impervium is very real, and it's about to change the balance of power in the galaxy." Outside the window, the first stars were becoming visible in the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, a fleet was heading toward Earth. And for the first time since joining the galactic community, humans had something the aliens truly feared. The age of human insignificance was over. The dome of Luna Base gleamed under the harsh sunlight. Inside the main conference chamber, Captain Hansol Lee adjusted his uniform collar for the 5th time. Today would be his first meeting with aliens, and not just any aliens, the most powerful military leaders in the Confederation. "Stop fidgeting," Admiral Kang whispered. "They'll see it as weakness." Hansol nodded and straightened his back. As the youngest captain in Earth's Defense Force, he had been chosen to lead the demonstration because of his deep knowledge of impervium. He had spent the last 2 weeks studying every test result from Dr. Taeho's lab. The chamber doors slid open with a soft hiss. Admiral Krav entered first. The Drox leader stood over 2 meters tall, his scaled skin a deep green that caught the light as he moved. Behind him came representatives from 7 other major Confederation species: the Volari with their 4 arms, the mist-like Talon who floated rather than walked, and others that Hansol recognized from briefing materials. "Welcome to Luna Base," Admiral Kang said, stepping forward. "We are honored by your presence." Admiral Krav's vertical pupils narrowed. "Let us dispense with pleasantries, human. We are here to see this metal you claim to have created." Hansol noticed that Krav's hand never strayed far from the energy pistol at his side. The weapon was forbidden in diplomatic meetings, but no one was going to tell the Drox Admiral to disarm. "Of course," Kang replied smoothly. "Captain Lee will conduct the demonstration." Hansol stepped forward and bowed slightly. "If you would follow me to the testing chamber, esteemed representatives." The testing chamber was a large room with reinforced walls. In the center stood a simple pedestal with a cube of impervium about the size of Hansol's fist. The alien delegation gathered around it, some using devices to scan the metal. "This is impervium," Hansol explained. "A new alloy developed by our scientists. Its crystalline structure allows it to absorb and dissipate energy at unprecedented rates. A small alien with pale blue skin spoke up. We have analyzed your scientific papers. The properties you claim are theoretically impossible according to known physics. Hansol smiled. Perhaps your known physics needs updating. Admiral Krav made a sound that might have been a laugh. Humans always make grand claims. Let us see this miracle metal withstand a real weapon. He turned to one of his officers. Bring the testing weapons. The Drox officer returned with a case. Inside were 3 weapons, each more deadly than the last. Hansol recognized them from intelligence briefings: a standard Confederation laser pistol, a military-grade plasma rifle, and a handheld particle beam emitter that could cut through battleship armor. Begin with the lowest setting, Krav ordered. The officer took the laser pistol and aimed it at the impervium cube. A bright red beam struck the metal for 3 full seconds. When he stopped, the cube showed no damage at all. The aliens murmured among themselves. Try the plasma rifle, Krav said, his voice harder now. The next weapon fired a bolt of blue-white energy that briefly lit up the entire room. The cube remained unchanged. Hansol watched the aliens carefully. Some looked worried. Now, a tall, thin alien with gray skin leaned toward Krav and whispered something. The Drox admiral nodded. Your demonstration is impressive, Captain, Krav said. But these are not our most powerful weapons. Hansol had been briefed for this moment. We understand, Admiral. If you wish to use your particle beam emitter, we are prepared. Surprise flickered across Krav's reptilian face. Earth's intelligence was better than he had thought. Very well. He took the final weapon himself. Everyone move back. The particle beam emitter hummed as it charged. Krav aimed it at the cube and fired. A blinding white beam struck the impervium. The energy was so intense that the air around the beam path ionized, creating a crackling sound. For 10 full seconds, Krav held the trigger down, pouring enough energy into the cube to vaporize a small shuttle. When he finally released the trigger, everyone stared at the result. The impervium cube sat unchanged on the pedestal. One of the aliens, a Tier Volari with silver skin, stepped forward and scanned the cube with a handheld device. Impossible, he said. There is no temperature increase, no structural damage, nothing. How? Demanded Krav. How does it work? Hansol had been instructed to keep the explanation simple. The crystalline structure of impervium converts the energy into a harmless form of radiation that disperses almost instantly. And you can produce this material in quantity? Asked the Talon representative, her voice like wind chimes. We have already begun production for our defense vessels. Hansol confirmed. The room fell silent. Every alien present understood what this meant. For millennia, energy weapons had been the foundation of space warfare. Ships with powerful enough lasers or plasma cannons could destroy enemies from great distances. But if humans could shield their ships with this material, the demonstration is complete, Admiral Krav said abruptly. We will return to our vessel to report to the Confederation Council. As the aliens filed out, Hansol caught fragments of their conversations. Change everything. Humans cannot be allowed. Must secure the formula. When they were alone, Admiral Kang turned to Hansol. You did well, Captain, but I'm afraid we've just painted a target on Earth. They won't attack us, Hansol said. Not now. They know their weapons would be useless. There are many ways to wage war, the Admiral replied grimly. Energy weapons are just one of them. Back on Earth, Dr. Tae-Ho Kim watched the recorded demonstration in his new laboratory. The government had built him a state-of-the-art facility, beneath a mountain, safe from orbital strikes. Their faces, Jiwoo said with a smile. Did you see how shocked they were? Tae-Ho nodded. But Admiral Krav wasn't just shocked. He was angry. Of course he was angry. We've just made their biggest weapons useless. Tae-Ho turned to the large machine behind him. Unlike the simple cube used in the demonstration, this was a complex testing apparatus. Inside was something new, a second generation of impervium that they had been developing in secret. We need to work faster, he said. The Confederation won't sit idle while we strengthen our defenses. Jiwoo moved to her workstation. Do you really think they would attack Earth? Start a war? I think Admiral Krav would, Taeho replied. But the Confederation Council might hold him back. For now. He looked at the latest test results from Impervium 2. If the first generation could absorb energy weapons, the second generation could do something far more impressive. It could redirect that energy. How soon until we can test Impervium 2 on a ship? Jiwoo asked. The first plating is already being installed on the Dauntless. Captain Lee will command her. Jiwoo nodded. Good. I trust him. Taeho walked to the window that looked out on the manufacturing floor below. Hundreds of workers were producing impervium sheets that would soon protect Earth's fleet. It wasn't a large fleet, just 7 major vessels compared to the thousands that the Confederation could field. But with impervium, perhaps it would be enough. What do you think they'll do next? Jiwoo asked quietly. Taeho thought about Admiral Krav's eyes cold and calculating. They'll try to steal it first, then they'll try to find a way around it. And if both those options fail, he didn't need to finish the sentence. They both knew what came next. War. Sungmin Choi adjusted his formal diplomatic robes as he waited outside the Grand Confederation Council chamber. 6 months had passed since the Luna base demonstration. In that time, he had been appointed Earth's ambassador to the Confederation, a job that grew more difficult with each passing day. Ambassador Choi, a soft voice called. The council will see you now. Sungmin nodded and followed the Tylon assistant into the massive chamber. The Confederation Council Hall was built inside an asteroid at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system. The hall itself was a giant dome with seats for representatives from over 200 species. At the center was a raised platform where Sungmin would stand. He walked to the platform, feeling the eyes of every alien representative watching him. Earth had been part of the Confederation for 30 years, but humans were still seen as newcomers, primitives who had just learned to travel between stars, until Impervium changed everything. Ambassador Choi, the council leader, began. She was a Volari with silver skin and 4 graceful arms. We have called this session to discuss the matter of the material known as Impervium. Sungmin bowed. I am ready to address the council's concerns. The council has voted. By a margin of 173 to 42, we formally request that Earth share the complete formula and manufacturing process for Impervium with the Confederation. This is a matter of galactic security. Sungmin had expected this. It was the 3rd such request in as many months. Each time the demands grew less polite. Honored Council, he replied, Earth's position remains unchanged. We are willing to provide impervium shields for peaceful purposes to any Confederation member that requests them. But the formula itself is classified under Earth protection laws. A low murmur swept through the chamber. From his seat near the front, Admiral Krav of the Drox stood up. This is unacceptable, Krav growled. Humans have been part of the Confederation for only 3 decades. You have benefited from our technology, our trade routes, our protection. And now, you withhold a discovery that affects all of us? Sungmin turned to face the Drox Admiral. With respect, Admiral, Earth joined the Confederation as an equal member. We have shared many technological advances in medicine, agriculture, and clean energy. Impervium is a defensive technology. We have no obligation to share its secrets, just as the Drox have never shared the formula for your plasma weapon crystals. Krav's scales darkened with anger. Those are not the same. They are exactly the same, Sungmin replied calmly. The difference is that now humans have something you want. The council leader raised a hand for silence. Ambassador, the council understands Earth's position, but we must warn you this decision may have consequences. Already there are reports of Confederation members developing new weapon systems designed to overcome impervium shields. Sungmin nodded. Earth's intelligence had already detected these developments. That is their right, just as it is Earth's right to develop defensive technologies. This session is adjourned, the council leader announced. We will reconvene in one standard month to revisit this issue. As Sung Min left the chamber, he felt Admiral Krav's eyes following him. The Druks were leading the push for new weapons. Intelligence reports suggested they were testing kinetic accelerators, weapons that fired physical projectiles at incredible speeds. Energy weapons might be useless against impervium, but a chunk of metal moving at half the speed of light would still do damage. The arms race had begun. In orbit around Earth, the EDF Dauntless floated in space dock. Workers in spacesuits moved around the hull, attaching the last plates of Impervium 2. Captain Han-Sol Lee watched from the bridge, his chest swelling with pride. The Dauntless was his first command, and it was the most advanced ship humans had ever built. "Captain, we have a secure transmission from Seoul," his communications officer reported. Han-Sol moved to his private office. Dr. Taeho's face appeared on the screen. "Captain Lee," Taeho said with a smile. "How is the installation? Progressing?" "We're on schedule, Doctor. The final plates will be in place by tomorrow. Initial tests of the Impervium 2 plating have been successful." Taeho nodded. "Excellent. But I'm calling with new information. Our spies in the Confederation have confirmed that the Drox have developed a new weapon. They're calling it a quantum disruptor." Han-Sol frowned. "What do we know about it?" "Not much. It's designed to create a field that temporarily alters the quantum state of matter. In theory, it could change Impervium's crystalline structure for a fraction of a second. Long. Enough for a follow-up energy attack to do damage. Will Impervium 2 be able to withstand it?" Taeho's face showed concern. "We don't know. We've never seen this technology before." Han-Sol looked out the viewport at Earth below. The blue planet seemed so peaceful from space. Its people had no idea how quickly things were changing in the galaxy. "When will the Dauntless be ready for full testing?" Taeho asked. 2 weeks, Han-Sol replied. "We'll conduct weapons tests in the asteroid belt where we can fire at full power without risk." "Good. I've sent you the latest simulation data for the energy redirection system. The math suggests that Impervium 2 can redirect up to 80% of incoming energy back to its source." Han-Sol's eyes widened. That would turn their own weapons against them. "Exactly. But Han-Sol, be careful. The Confederation is watching everything we do now." After the call ended, Han-Sol returned to the bridge. His first officer, Lieutenant Junho, was reviewing system reports. "Any problems?" Han-Sol asked. Junho shook his head. "Everything is nominal, Captain. The new Impervium 2 plating is fully integrated with the ship's systems." Han-Sol looked at the main view screen, which showed Earth's small but growing fleet. 6 other vessels were also being retrofitted with Impervium 2. It wasn't much compared to the thousands of ships in the Confederation fleets, but it might be enough. "Lieutenant, set course for the training area once we clear space dock. I want to test our new shields at full power." "Yes, Captain. And what about the reports of Drox activity near Neptune?" Han-Sol frowned. Intelligence had detected increased Drox presence at the edge of the solar system. They claimed to be conducting routine patrols, but no one believed that. "We'll deal with them if we have to," Han-Sol said. "But our priority is completing these tests." Admiral Krav stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Conqueror. Through the view screen, he could see the blue dot of Earth in the distance. 20 Drox warships hung in space around him, the most powerful battle group in this sector. "Admiral," his second-in-command reported, "the quantum disruptor tests are complete. The simulations show a 90% chance of success against Impervium." Krav's mouth formed what passed for a smile among the Drox. "Excellent. And what of the new human ships?" "Our spies report that 7 vessels are being equipped with something they call Impervium 2. We don't know its capabilities yet." Krav stared at the distant Earth. For centuries, the Drox had been the military leaders of the Confederation. Their energy weapons were feared throughout the galaxy. Now these humans, these newcomers, had created something that threatened to change everything. "Prepare a battle plan," Krav ordered. "We will test this Impervium 2 ourselves. If the Council won't force the humans to share their technology, we will take it. Sir, that would violate Confederation law. It could be seen as an act of war." Krav turned to his second-in-command. "Sometimes progress requires bold action. The Drox did not become the greatest power in the galaxy by following rules made by weaker species. He looked again at Earth, so small and blue against the blackness of space. The humans have forced our hand. Now they will learn what it means to challenge the Drox Empire. Red lights flashed across the bridge of the Dauntless as alarms sounded. Commodore Han Sol Lee, recently promoted from captain, gripped the arms of his command chair. "Report," he ordered. Lieutenant Jun Ho checked his console. 20 Drox warships have just entered the solar system, sir. They've bypassed the outer marker buoys without authorization. Han Sol's face hardened. The moment they had prepared for had arrived sooner than expected. "Alert the fleet. All ships to battle stations. Put me through to Admiral Krav's flagship." The main screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Krav's reptilian face. The Drox commander looked smugly confident. "Commodore Lee," Krav said, his voice a low growl. "The Confederation Council has authorized a military training exercise in this system." Han Sol knew this was a lie. Ambassador Sung Min had warned him that the Drox were planning something, but they had not expected such a bold move. "Admiral Krav," Han Sol replied firmly, "you have entered sovereign Earth territory without permission. The Confederation Council has issued no such authorization. Turn your fleet around immediately." Krav's mouth formed what passed for a smile among the Drox. "You seem concerned, Commodore. Surely a simple training exercise poses no threat to ships protected by your miraculous impervium." Han Sol understood at once. This was a test. Krav wanted to see if Impervium 2 was as effective as the rumors suggested. "Lieutenant, signal the fleet," Han Sol ordered, muting the communication with Krav. "Form defensive line Alpha at the edge of the asteroid belt. Warning shots only." Earth's 7 warships moved into position. Though outnumbered nearly 3-1, each human vessel gleamed with the distinctive blue-gray sheen of Impervium 2 plating. They formed a line between the approaching Drox fleet and Earth. Han Sol reopened the channel to Krav. "This is your final warning, Admiral. Withdraw your fleet or we will consider this an act of aggression." Krav's only response was to cut the communication. "Sir," Junho called out, "the Drox fleet is powering up weapons." Han Sol took a deep breath. "Shields to maximum. Hold position." Across the gulf of space, bright beams of energy suddenly erupted from the Drox ships. These were not standard energy weapons, but the new quantum disruptors they had developed specifically to counter Impervium. The beams struck the human vessels. For a moment, the Impervium 2 hulls seemed to shimmer and lose their distinctive color. Then, to the amazement of everyone on the bridge, the energy was absorbed and channeled through the special redirection system that Dr. Tejo had designed. Brilliant beams shot back from the human ships, striking 3 of the Drox vessels. The core, redirected energy hit with such force that the Drox shields collapsed instantly. The ships didn't explode, but their lights flickered, and they began to drift. "Direct hit on 3 enemy vessels," Junho reported, his voice filled with wonder. "The redirection system worked. Their own energy is being used against them." Han Sol allowed himself a small smile. "Send a message to all Earth vessels. Hold. Position and maintain defensive operations only. Do not target crew sections." Admiral Krav was not deterred. The remaining Drox ships adjusted their tactics, launching salvos of physical missiles and railgun projectiles, kinetic weapons that didn't rely on energy. The missiles streaked toward the human fleet, impacting against the Impervium 2 hulls. Explosions bloomed across space, temporarily obscuring the human vessels. When the debris cleared, the Earth ships remained largely intact. The Impervium 2 plating showed some damage from the kinetic impacts, but the hulls had not been breached. "Damage report," Han Sol called out. "Minor hull damage on decks 3 through 7, Junho replied. "No breaches. Shield systems still operating at 86% efficiency." Han Sol nodded. Dr. Tejo had warned that while Impervium could completely neutralize energy weapons, kinetic impacts could still cause damage. But the advanced composite structure made it far stronger than traditional hull materials. "Sir, the Drox are preparing for another attack," Junho warned. "They're repositioning for a concentrated assault on the Dauntless." Han Sol made a quick decision. "Target their weapons arrays only. Minimal power. We need to show them we can. Fight back without destroying their ships. The Dauntless fired its own weapons, conventional railguns and missile systems. Earth had never developed the advanced energy weapons that the Confederation used, focusing instead on improving their traditional armaments. Now, that decision was proving wise. The human counterattack struck the lead Drox ships with precision. Their weapon emplacements exploded, leaving the vessels unable to fire but otherwise intact. For 6 hours, the battle continued. The Drox tried every weapon in their arsenal, including experimental gravitational distortion cannons and subspace disruptors. Nothing penetrated the Impervium-2 hulls completely. Meanwhile, Earth's fleet disabled 5 more Drox vessels without destroying any of them. Finally, Admiral Krav's flagship powered down its weapons. A communication request came through. "Put him on screen," Han Solo ordered. Krav's face appeared, his scales dark with rage and humiliation. "This isn't over, Commodore. What you've witnessed today is only a fraction of the Drox Empire's power." Han Solo kept his voice level. "You've violated Confederation law by attacking us without provocation. We have recorded everything and will present it to the Council." "The Council," Krav spat. "They are weak. They do not understand power. But the Drox do. Remember that, human." The screen went dark as Krav cut the transmission. The remaining functional Drox ships began to retreat, taking their disabled vessels with them. "They're withdrawing beyond Neptune's orbit," Junho reported. "Long-range scanners show them preparing for FTL jump." A cheer went up across the bridge. Against all odds, Earth's small fleet had withstood an attack from one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy. Han Solo allowed his crew a moment of celebration before raising his hand for silence. This was only the first test, he reminded them. The Drox will be back, and next time they'll bring more ships and new weapons. In his laboratory beneath the mountain, Dr. Tae-Ho Kim watched the battle recordings with Jiwoo. The data streaming across their screens showed how each type of weapon had interacted with Impervium-2. "The redirection system worked better than we calculated," Jiwoo said, pointing to the energy readings. "It returned almost 90% of the energy back to the source." Tae-Ho nodded. "But the kinetic weapons still cause damage. We need to improve the shock absorption properties for the next generation." Jiwoo looked at him in surprise. "Next generation? You mean there will be an Impervium-3? "Of course," Tae-Ho replied. "This is just the beginning. The Drox will develop new weapons, and we must stay ahead of them." He turned to a different screen, where a molecular model rotated. Slowly, it showed something new, a theoretical structure that could not only absorb and redirect energy, but could also convert kinetic impacts into usable power for the ship's systems. "The real question," Tae-Ho said quietly, "is what happens now. The Drox have been humiliated. That makes them dangerous." Jiwoo's face grew serious. "Do you think there will be war?" Tae-Ho looked at the battle footage again, watching as the Drox fleet retreated from Earth's 7 ships. "I think," he said slowly, "that everything has changed. For thousands of years, the Confederation has relied on energy weapons. The species with the most powerful weapons ruled. Now those weapons are obsolete." He turned to face Jiwoo. "We didn't just create a new metal, Jiwoo. We created a new balance of power in the galaxy." 2 years had passed since the battle with the Drox fleet. The Grand Hall of the Confederation Council was more crowded than usual today. Representatives from over 200 species filled the chamber, their voices creating a low hum of anticipation. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Sung-Min Choi, preparing to address the Council with Earth's most important proposal since joining the galactic community. The Council leader, a Volari with silver skin, raised all 4 of her arms for silence. The room gradually quieted. "This special session will now begin," she announced. "Ambassador Choi of Earth has requested time to present a proposal of galactic significance." Sung-Min stepped forward, dressed in formal diplomatic robes of deep blue. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of various representatives. Even Admiral Krav was present, though he sat in the back rows now. The failed attack on Earth's fleet had cost him his position as the Drox military leader. Honored, Representatives of the Confederation, Sung-min began, his voice clear and strong. For 2 years we have lived in a state of tension. The discovery of impervium changed the balance of power in our galaxy. Some saw this as a threat. Others saw it as an opportunity. He paused, letting his words sink in. Many in the chamber shifted uncomfortably. The aftermath of the Drox attack had divided the Confederation. Some had supported Earth's right to defend itself, while others feared the rise of human influence. Today, I am authorized to announce that Earth will share the complete formula and manufacturing process for impervium with the entire Confederation. A wave of shocked murmurs swept through the chamber. This was the last thing anyone had expected. However, Sung-min continued, raising his voice slightly. This sharing comes with conditions. Earth proposes a new Confederation charter, one, that emphasizes peace, cooperation, and the end of military dominance as the basis for galactic leadership. He touched a control on his wrist, and a holographic document appeared above the chamber floor, visible to all. This new charter has 3 core principles. First, no species may use military force against another Confederation member without unanimous council approval. Second, all members will share defensive technologies equally. And third, scientific cooperation will become the foundation of our relationship, not military strength. The chamber erupted in voices. Some representatives shouted in support, others in protest. The council leader had to bang her ceremonial staff several times to restore order. "Ambassador," said a tall, thin alien with gray skin, the representative from the Loran Republic, "why this change?" "For 2 years Earth has guarded the secret of impervium zealously." Sung-min nodded. "A fair question. The truth is simple. We have learned that impervium is more valuable as a tool for peace than as a weapon of war." He gestured, and the hologram changed to show Dr. Tae-ho Kim standing in his laboratory. "Dr. Kim, the creator of impervium, has made a new discovery. Please explain, Doctor." Tae-ho's image smiled. "Thank you, Ambassador. While developing impervium, we discovered something unexpected. The same crystalline structure that absorbs energy weapons can also store clean energy with nearly perfect efficiency." The hologram showed a small cube of impervium connected to what looked like a power grid. This cube, weighing just 5 kilograms, can store enough energy to power a city of 1 million people for a year, and it can be recharged indefinitely. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Energy shortages had plagued many worlds for centuries. Wars had been fought over energy resources across the galaxy. In addition, Tae-ho continued, we've developed Impervium 3, which can convert kinetic impacts into storable energy. A ship hull made of this material actually becomes stronger when attacked, not weaker. Sung-min took over again as Tae-ho's image faded. We stand at a crossroads. We can continue the old path, an arms race that benefits no one. Or we can choose a new way forward. Earth chooses peace and cooperation. From the back of the chamber, Admiral Krav stood. Pretty words, Ambassador, but the truth is that humans have simply found a way to dominate us all. This peace you offer comes from a position of strength. Sung-min turned to face the former Drox leader. Admiral Krav, with respect, you misunderstand our position. Yes, Impervium has given Earth strength, but true strength lies in knowing when not to use power. He addressed the entire chamber again. Think of what we could accomplish if we redirected our military resources to scientific discovery, to healing sick worlds, to exploring the unknown parts of our galaxy. The age of energy weapons is over. Let us make it the beginning of something better. For 3 days, the Council debated Earth's proposal. Representatives argued passionately on both sides. Some saw it as a human trick to gain power. Others saw it as a genuine opportunity for a new beginning. On the 4th day, they voted. By a narrow margin, 128 to 97, the new charter was approved. 6 months later, Dr. Tae-ho Kim stood on the observation deck of the Dauntless, watching as the massive ship approached a distant star system. Beside him stood Ji-woo Park and Commodore Han Sol Lee. The first joint scientific mission, Ji-woo said with pride. 10 species working together. The Dauntless had been converted from a warship into an exploration vessel. Its weapons bays now housed scientific equipment, though its Impervium-3 hull remained as protection against the dangers of deep space. The ship's crew was a mix of humans and aliens, all scientists and explorers rather than soldiers. Hansel pointed to a small screen showing a fleet of ships following behind them. Not just any mission, the largest expedition ever launched, the BAR. Fleet consisted of vessels from 12 Confederation species, all protected by Impervium hulls, all powered by the incredible energy storage system that Tejo had developed. They were headed to a mysterious pulsar that emitted unusual signals, possibly the first evidence of an unknown form of intelligent life. "Do you ever regret it?" Hansel asked quietly. "Sharing Impervium with everyone?" Tejo shook his head. "Never. Knowledge belongs to all of us. But Earth could have become the dominant power in the galaxy," Hansel pressed. "For how long?" Tejo replied. "Someone would have developed something to counter it eventually. Then we'd be back to the same cycle of weapons and counter-weapons. This way we all move forward together." Jiwoo smiled. "Besides, your ship still has the best version of Impervium. We kept a few small secrets for Earth." Tejo laughed. "Only until the next breakthrough. Then we share that too." The Dauntless's engines hummed as it prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed. Ahead lay the unknown, new discoveries, new challenges, perhaps even new forms of life. "Ready for the jump, Commodore?" Tejo asked. Hansel nodded and touched his communication device. "Bridge, this is the Commodore. Execute jump sequence." The stars blurred as the Dauntless leaped into FTL speed, leading the fleet of scientific vessels toward discovery. On the Confederation homeworlds, the changes were already beginning. Military shipyards were being converted to civilian use. Energy, weapons research facilities were being repurposed for medical and environmental technology. After millennia of arms races and power struggles, a new paradigm was taking hold, all because of a metal that had made energy weapons obsolete. As Tejo watched the FTL corridor swirl around the ship, he thought about the small metal cube that had started it all. Sometimes the greatest revolutions came from the simplest things, not from weapons that destroyed, but from ideas that built something new. Ahead lay a galaxy of possibilities. And humans, once the newcomers, were now helping to lead the way. The end.